Welcome to the Random Real Estate Show, where the mics are hot and the opinions are hotter. We are a show about random things and occasionally some real estate. If you like to listen, you can find us on www.houston'shomeconnection.com under the podcast tab. If you like to watch, like Josh and I do, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube under Houston's Home Connection Team. And if you want to participate, you can email us at justask@houston'shomeconnection.com or leave us a comment wherever you happen to be watching. So while Josh and I were preparing for the show the other day, and yes, we do prepare, sort of, he said he had a topic that might take the full episode to discuss. He wants to talk about the American dream. And I told him that while I thought that was a good idea to talk about a wrestler from the 80s and 90s, I wasn't sure that I could do a full show on it, but then realized he was not talking about the American dream, Dusty Rhodes. So I will be quiet, along with the rest of you, and hand the floor over to Josh.
Yeah, so before we go into the American dream and the changes, that I think people have a different concept of the American dream. I want to touch on something that's actually happened earlier today and still might be going on is the funeral procession, and this could actually be a good segue to the American dream. But Sandeep Dhaliwal, the sheriff's officer who was murdered a few days ago, I've actually been pretty struck by this story because, and I'll get to the story here in a sec that I'm going to read from the Houston CNN did a story. But anyways, he was a guy who had a lucrative business before he became a sheriff's officer. But I wanted to read in how he became a sheriff's officer. So a while back, his religion is Sikh. Yeah, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, there was an encounter a while back between a Sikh family and a Harris County Sheriff's deputies which went very wrong. And the sheriff's deputies had showed up to this house. They were kind of thrown aback because they weren't familiar with the turbans. They weren't familiar that in the Sikh faith that swords are kind of that part of their culture, right? And they saw these swords and things went wrong, and it just didn't go very well. And the sheriff's deputies treated the family as if they were criminals. So Adrian Garcia, the newly elected Harris County sheriff, he wanted to make things right in the Sikh community. So what he did is he visited the neighborhood Gurdwara. Now, believe me, I'm probably pronouncing this stuff wrong, but I think that is like their little temple, their little praying place. So he made a plea to the Sikh community to join the sheriff's office, become a deputy, and help make a change from the inside, from the inside out. So, Sandeep Dhaliwal, he joined the sheriff's department, and his family and friends thought he was the craziest guy. But many things that have struck me is, yes, there would be a big procession about a sheriff's deputy or a police officer being killed in the line of duty, which is just a horrible thing. But the more you dig deep into his story is, I think just by saying he was part of the police community would be a complete understatement, because the guy was just an incredible human being who promoted his Sikh community. He promoted his religion, his culture. He wore the turban. He wore the beard, and that was the first time people were allowed to do that in the sheriff's office. So I was pretty taken aback by everything that he's accomplished. And I'm going to tell you what, if you ever wonder if anybody's going to show up to your funeral, maybe you need to start taking some cues on how he lived his life, because that guy is getting love from all over the world. And I think it's more for what he did in the community and the type of person he was than just being a sheriff's deputy. So that was just a little tidbit I wanted to share. And, going into the American dream, it's just struck me lately because we see people going into jobs for 8 hours a day, sitting in cubicles or what have you, and I'm just using that as an example. But they may not like their jobs, right? So I started thinking to myself, what is the American dream? And everybody's going to have a different answer to this. But I just want to go back to kind of the origins of it, and where the phrase American Dream came from was an author named James Truslow Adams, and he was alive from 1878 to 1949, and he wrote in the book The Epic of America that his American dream is that a dream of a land which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. Okay, and so I wanted to also share the definition of Merriam-Webster of what it says is the American dream. And it says, a happy way of living that is thought of by many Americans as something that can be achieved by anyone in the U.S., especially by working hard and becoming successful. That also precludes into this, with good jobs, a nice house, 2 children, and plenty of money. They believed they were living the American dream. So, Tom, I don't think there's a wrong or right answer here. But let me ask you, what is your definition, and this is Tom Riggins' definition of the American dream?
I'm going to be honest. I actually don't have one. I mean, because I don't know that line. I don't know that there's a clear line anymore. I know what the line was when I was a kid. It's everything you just said.
Yes.
It was that, and it wasn't necessarily that it had to be, the biggest house and the biggest whatever. I grew up, as we talked, my dad was a minister in little small towns and in little small churches. And a lot of times whatever came in the plate is what we had to live on, and nothing came in the plate. So, but I never thought I was poor. My parents never gave me the impression that we were poor, but so we were happy. We had a roof over our heads. We had a way to get around. We had schools to go to. And, my brother and I just lived this, what I thought was this idyllic existence. And I don't know that necessarily is something that people can do today. I know it happens. Obviously, we know stories, but what I mean? Like that, to me, that was nothing different. Even though I had friends who had maybe bigger houses and more stuff, we're all in the same deal. And now we've delineated between you're kind of rich or you're poor. And so I don't know what that is. In all honesty, I don't know what my definition is anymore of it.
Yeah, and that's probably a good answer, because I don't know if there is a true definition. You did hit on a good point, though, as probably even before I was born, and more or less in the 50s and 60s, probably in the 50s is where it became go to college, wife stayed home, husband went to college, got a job, had a car, had a house, was able to provide food, and had a 401k, retirement, what have you. I think what was missing in all that, which obviously money came into play too with financial security, is I think almost that came into play as I think happiness actually came into play as a second thought, right? It didn't matter if you hated going to work every day. It didn't matter if you hated waking up every day. It was you went to a job because it was secure, and you've spent 30, 40 years at this just for that security of having that 401k, having food on the plate, having a roof over your family's head. But where did that lead you in all reality? You know what I mean? Did it suffice you a life that you're supposed to live? You know what I mean? And so now we'll take it to today, where money comes into play, because back then maybe you didn't notice that your friend had a new car, or not necessarily a friend, but an acquaintance had a new car or a new house, but now it's in front of you every single day. The materialistic things are hitting you every single day. So now I think it's become one of those things where you just, I can't ever go take a chance because I got this security, I got this credit card bill, I have a mortgage. So I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to live I don't want to even try any creative things, because that's not what we're supposed to do. We're just supposed to go to work, suck it up, have the security, have the 401k, have the retirement plan, retire at 65, 70, and then just live. Why don't you just live and take chances? Why don't we just live? Why don't we just take chances? Why are we such a scared society Because in all reality, as I get older, I don't think of money as providing me the success. I would back in the day, I would have probably just been working every day for money, right? Now I've actually changed it up to where I'm really concerned about my mental health and happiness, because you see people, and I'm 43 now, dying at 43 and younger and older, what have you. You are not guaranteed tomorrow. And it sounds like a cliche to say, but damn, if I'm going to sit around being unhappy today, and don't get me wrong, I'm probably one of the most negative people that you would find. I have a very strong mind, but it leads to negativity, which I hate, and I always try to work on. And maybe I'm going on a tangent here, but I just think with the way things are today, that the American dream has changed to where you need to really have a focus on your mental health, your mental capacity, because we're just diving into so many prescription drugs to just get us by through the day, go to a job we hate for 8 to 10 hours a day, sit in traffic, come home, watch Netflix, do it over again. 30, 40 years down the road, what have you done? You know what I mean? So I'm very envious of the people that take chances. I'm very envious of the people who live life on, maybe in my book wouldn't be such a secure thing, but they're going to at least try and live their life the way that they feel like what's going to make them happy.
Okay, so several things have flooded my mind here. So we'll get biblical for a minute. Fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, happiness. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But, and I say all that because a study we did was there's a difference between joy and happiness. And people try to equate the two. Happy is an emotion. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to chase an emotion, you're going to be miserably failing all the time, because emotions are going to let you down. It's like searching for that. Listen, I've done, go back to my days. So dad the preacher, I'm talking Bible. So guess what kind of kid I was? Chasing the happiness of drinking, drugs, and those kind of things in my deal, but chasing after something that never could hold, because that's what it is. It's trying to come out like, today I'm happy because I got this new car, but what do I have tomorrow? I mean, the new car buying deal's gone. That's, I think, where we got into this change. And there again, the 80, the decade of the decade of excess. If you watch enough of these documentaries, we started chasing happiness, and nothing was enough because there always had to be the next happiness, the next thing. And I think that's it. I think that's how that all has switched. To have joy in life. I mean, I've known people who you and I would both consider dirt poor, a way of life neither of us would even remotely think. And so they're some of the most joyful people I know, because they're not counting on all that other stuff. They genuinely, the joy is inside of them and how they feel about life. So, and all those other pursuits aren't wrong. It's like, why are you pursuing it? You tell me all the time, sometimes whenever I get lackadaisical, hey, Tom, you're probably going to live another 30, 40 years. Yep, sure hope I got enough money to make that long, just to have a roof over my head and pay my bills. Doesn't mean I got to have anything. It just means I got to be able to live. So why am I chasing after the money? Is it just to make me happy, or is it, no, there's a point to it?
So are you saying that if you did chase not happiness, but money, that you would be chasing for the security of it? Because right. I feel that if you're chasing money, that's almost like you're chasing happiness as well.
Not chasing it. I think what it is being, it's
because like what amount would be good enough for
right.
it?
It's what's the plan. We've asked this. I mean, so in real estate, we know people who, in my estimation, I'm like, man, if I had done that much business, had made that much money at the age they're at, I wouldn't be selling houses anymore. I would be kicked back somewhere. I don't know what their situation is. I don't know what their investments were like. I don't know how many chances they took, and they're like, well, I know I made a lot of money and I've lost a lot of money. And we both know people like that. So I think, money in and of itself, people get it messed up. It does not say money is the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. The love of money is the root of all evil. And that's where we get sideways on it. Money is not bad. Money is a tool.
No, and I agree.
If you use it correctly, just like if you use a shovel correctly, you get something. Use it wrong, and you probably have hit someone in the head. So, I think that's my biggest deal out of on the American dream, and as far as happy goes, I don't trust happy.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that where we're at today in society, that the majority of college graduates get out and go house or wife, house, kids, white picket fence?
No.
And why do you think that is?
I do think that the generation now, some of the kids, and I'll call them that I've worked with to help buy houses, it feels like they learned some lessons off of that generation right before them that jumped into all that. So a lot of them I've helped. They lived in their apartment for 3 or 4 years. They spent their time, making sure that they were financially prepared, that their jobs were set and all that stuff, and then went out and didn't have kids right off. They sort of took this long-term view. My daughter's 29, still isn't married.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that may be happening even now sooner than I want to, even at 29. But, she lived in England for years. She went to England and got her master's degree because that's what she wanted to do. And nobody was there to tell her no, because it's like, well, it's just me and I'm going to do it. So I think there's been an awakening. I know more and more kids who are now in their mid-20s or later before they're talking about even getting into serious relationships. And that wasn't my day. I mean, I got married in high school, so it obviously wasn't my day.
Yeah, well, yours is a little different situation, but I fully agree. I think if somebody graduates college and has the opportunity to go abroad, or even during college to go abroad and really figure out which way they want to go in life, and by that time they may not be able to figure it out, because I still question my path in life some days. But without having the responsibilities of a wife and a house and kids and all that, man, that is the time to go check yourself out. Go find yourself, because you had sent me a video this morning where, I don't know if you dove too far into it, but the guy who started that little Paw Patrol, I'm probably saying it wrong, but it was like a playground for dogs.
Right.
The guy was a CEO of Florida hospitals. He just wasn't feeling it anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's where he probably got into his secure job as the CEO. And I'm not speaking for him. I don't know him from Adam. There's just my 2 cents on it. Got into it, man, I am showing up here and I'm just not loving life. You know what I mean? I kind of have a passion for dogs.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but he said he's the happiest guy alive right now. He like found his calling, and this is what he was meant to do. And I'm afraid. I don't know if it's afraid, but I'm afraid that our generation, that's where we're kind of stuck in the spinning wheel. This hamster wheel that is just every day. It's same old thing. Let's wait till we're 65 and hopefully we can retire and maybe we can live a couple years and still be healthy. But I feel like the younger kids, my kids, your kids that are in high school, going into college, or in college now, that's really an opportunity. And I know they get out of college and there's not a lot of jobs for them, and maybe their degree kind of led them down the wrong path. But I'm really envious of kids these days, because the internet, right? We spoke on this, how people can become celebrities through just YouTube videos and what have you, which you could use that. But I think the internet has just gave people the entrepreneur bug, right? Like, which maybe not could have been around back when going into like an office job or getting a job at a factory was the things to do. And then you worked your way up and there you were. But now you can have any opportunity through Facebook or Instagram. You can do a Shopify. You can do, sell things on Amazon. You can become many things. I mean, outside of the internet, what other big things in the last, 100 years have came along that have changed our society like the internet?
I want to backtrack just a second, because you hit on something that just was key to me in that I live in Houston, Texas right now, as you know, because we're sitting right here.
Shocker.
But for 23 years of my life, I lived in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I lived there for more than 32 years of my life. But for 23 years, I worked in a paper mill there. And I say that because I got that job right out of high school. Literally on my 18th birthday, I started there as a summer student, going to college, transitioned into a full-time job. And the pay was so good that there was no way I could ever see myself doing anything else. Not just because I was in a little bitty, town, but because it's like, where am I ever going to make this kind of money? I finished my associate's degree much later. So basically I got a high school degree. I knew guys that didn't even have high school degrees making six figures. And they're like, where am I going to do this at? But they hated it. We worked shift work. As soon as I left my house, about 5 minutes after, I could start seeing the smokestacks of the place, and I began to dread life as soon as I saw the smokestacks. But where was I going to make that kind of money? Here we are, my wife, our company says, hey, you want to go to Houston? They're offering her an amount of money that, for the most part, we could live on. There again, joy. Not happiness, joy. We were not able to buy the biggest house that we wanted. We were not able to do a lot of stuff, but they offered her enough money for us to move down here without me having a job, since there are no paper mills here. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I began to see life outside of that place. Like, you really can live without it. You really can make it. I went to work for a company. I went to work for another company. Now I do this. My wife has, been given a lot of, promotions and stuff to where we still don't make, all the money in the world. I feel like the joy is still there because we make what we need to live here. And I'm experiencing something that in all reality, I thought I would live and die in that little town. And so, to your point, the number of people who I knew who ever, through getting fired or just leaving there, they all have the same experience. Some of them still live in little bitty towns around Muskogee, Oklahoma, but they're like, man, I never realized what life could be like without the burden of, I have to work here because this is the only place I'm going to make this much money.
Right.
So that's, that was your point. And
so let me ask you this. Okay. So was money the alluring factor, or was the thought process of that you could never do anything more in your life, and this was a prolonged destination for you just because that's what people did?
Yeah, my dad did there. My dad worked there and retired from there. That I wasn't the only one. There were so many people out there that their dad had worked there most of their life, and then they got out of high school, and that's where they went. Now, it's, the only kind of job in town, so to speak. And I'm a little different that I've moved all the way down here to a big, massive city that has, opportunity for days. But that's my point, is I know people who are no longer working at that mill who still live in that area, and they're living life.
Let me ask you this. Could there have been somebody who could have said something to you or did something for you that could have changed your mindset to say, you know what, I'm better than the mill, and I'm going to go try something that will give me joy?
I don't think so, because the fear of the unknown. And I'm with you. The people who can just step out and go, I don't know what's going to happen. So in between my first wife, ex-wife, and the wife I have now of 20 years, I was single for 5 years, and I lived with a friend of mine for 3 years. He bought his parents' house, and he's like, hey, come help me pay the mortgage. But he was that type of guy. It just seemed like he fell into everything. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. And I hated that.
Yeah.
Because it just like he would go, oh, guess what happened to me? And here I am going so the other day, I have a former client, friend. Hey, who wants to go sit in the Crawford boxes at game 1 of the playoffs? Never in my life living in Muskogee, Oklahoma would I have seen that. And I would look at someone like me now and go, man, that guy's lucky. Yeah. Look at that. And yet I don't view it that way right now. Only right now is that sort of coming to my deal of I'm doing something that I used to look at my friend Jeff and go, how does he always get those things? And I'm actually getting one of them. So I think it's opened my eyes leaving there, but I don't think there's anything. It took my wife getting an opportunity that we both felt like we could live and picking everything up and, moving all the way down here to change that, or else I would still be right there in that mill today. I don't know. I used to keep up with all my shifts and where I would be. I have no idea. It's been 8 years, but I'd be right there today wherever I was in the shift rotation.
And that's where I go back to how fortunate I think the younger generation is today, because they have very successful people, and you can pick from a myriad of them. And there also are a lot of snakes out there in that positivity realm that's teaching you how to do all these things. But there are many successful people who have started from zero, who are promoting that, hey, maybe college isn't the road you should go and accrue all this debt, because there's something inside you that maybe you don't know yet, or maybe that you are feeling, but you're a little nervous about taking that step out on. Now there's actually people out there who say, go take the step. You know what I mean? You're going to be fine.
Right. So let me go back to what you asked me. So we went around the corner. So you said anything about the internet, and I would say no. But I want you to think about that. It just hit me like, so 8 or 9 years ago is what we're talking about. There was barely smartphones. I mean, it was better, but it was still, you were just moving into the smartphone era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were no YouTube stars and this and that. This past 10 years, I think, has been the bigger change. And I know you find a ton of stuff like, oh no, this, and this, but it's only been in the past 10 years or so where what we've talked about, there are people literally who have become famous and rich off posting videos on the internet.
Yeah.
America's Funniest Home Video has been around for a long time, but there wasn't people getting rich off that except the people who created that show. People posting their own video and then going through the trouble of producing and making this more than, oh, look, I have a funny video we happen to be filming and it was funny. Like, no, I set the whole thing up and now I've created a brand out of it. That's only happened within the last little bit. Yeah. And before that, you had to figure out how you were going to market a product or go into a business and become good at it. This is the brand new era of you can sell you.
Yeah. So my thought process is, and the question that I asked you about the inventions the last 100 years, and you're right. I would stick with YouTube, smartphone, and the internet as three of the big ones, because the internet allows you to post out to everywhere. YouTube allows many people to become that star. So let's break down the YouTube for a second. You talked about people can produce their movies, right? And short clips, documentaries. So here's where I got to the creative part of that is, one, you may have the person in front of the camera doing the acting or the talking or speaking, what have you. But you also got these people who now have maybe learned a skill of directing, or maybe learned the skill of editing, or learned the skill of production design or graphic design. These are all things that back in the day maybe just wouldn't come into play, because these younger generations would have been sitting there going, nope, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get an accounting degree. I'm just going to go. I'll be an accountant, work in that cubicle 40 years. I'm going to get that great 401k. We'll have the 2 nice cars, the house, the dogs, the kids, but I'm going to be miserable. That thought process, now we have this big thing with depression and stuff, which I think is a real issue. And that's where I'm not going to lie to you. You struggle with the joy, the happiness, and you don't know where that happiness ends for you. So that was a good point on your part, to where joy is an actual thing. Happiness may never be attained. And if you attain happiness, you want more of it. So you're just chasing it down the road. But the depression thing is a real thing. It's because people aren't happy. They're scared to take chances. I'm fearful of taking chances at times. And there's many opportunities that I have probably turned down without knowing, just because I was scared to take a chance. I'm envious of the people who fall into crap and come out smelling like a rose. You know what I mean? Because they're not scared. They're okay with whatever the thing. So, in saying that, one thing that has helped me, and this is kind of we're all over the board. I know the American Dream situation passed a while ago, but
but I do think that's the American dream.
Yeah, just accept the moment that you're in. Be grateful for this time speaking with you. Be grateful, because I could get in a car accident on the way home, right? Sandeep Dhaliwal didn't know he was going to be killed. You know what I mean? These are items that you just don't know, and you just got to be grateful. And I believe in the universe is providing you and things like that. And I know you're a biblical person to where maybe you may take it another step further than that, but people are like, man, if I would have just met that girl at a different time and she wasn't moving off to this place, well, she wasn't the right girl.
Listen, man.
The universe didn't put that person in front of you at that time because she wasn't the right one.
Do you not know Garth Brooks?
No.
Hey, we're gonna talk. Unanswered Prayers is the name of the song. Come on.
I know who Garth Brooks is. Yes.
Well, you're basically talking out the song where he's like, I thank God for unanswered prayers. And yeah, it's it's like he was praying that he would meet that girl, and he did, and he looked back later and he said, man, I'm glad and thank you. I'm glad she wasn't the one. But that's what he wanted so bad. Okay,
I just thought he wanted a dog.
I know, and
beat up truck or something.
Your train of thought I've busted. But I want to say this too, because I think some of where you've been headed is you envious, or we're both people who take that step out. Sometimes we need to be more envious of the people who are happy staying put.
No, agreed.
Because it's like some of those people who have taken those chances have destroyed their lives and the lives of their family, and their marriages are a shambles, and their kids hate them and whatever because they're like, well, but I was chasing that dream. I think it's a bigger thing than just who took the chance on something. It's
no. So let me retract.
I know. No,
that person that took that chance to go to college to get a degree in accounting. That was just an example. That goes for anybody. I'm not saying college is bad or
no. I knew you weren't. I was just saying. I want to make it clear. Like I think we were both in agreement. Sometimes it's not that taking the chance to just stay put.
Yeah.
Because the dream is, it's to your point. Oh my gosh, look over there. If I just invested this much money in that, we could be rich. And somebody says, you know what? Let's take the chance of not doing that today. I'm going to take the chance to not get rich. And guess what? As you're pointing out, the dude that shorted Herbalife and lost $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the chance this time to not do that thing that everybody else thinks is something. That is also a leap of faith. As much as leaping out and actually doing it, sometimes not doing it. I guess that's the point I wanted to make is you can go both ways. It's not always about, hey, I've got to go do something. Somebody's like, I got to not do something because everybody else says it's the thing to do. I'm not going to get in it, and I was the one who came out not poor.
Correct. I was just stating examples.
Right.
But don't get me wrong. I know plenty of people who are very happy with their careers of all over the board. And, I'm just saying be happy with what you're doing. If you are really going to the office or you really are doing whatever job. I don't know why I keep saying
I didn't think you were dogging anybody. I just wanted to kind of throw in like, I think we both see it both ways.
Yes.
And to your, and there's your point of, as back, gosh, we're coming up on 5-6 years ago. I lose track. It's 5, I guess. I'm laying in ICU. I've torn the vertebral artery in my neck, and they're basically, I'm like, they're just laying there in ICU, and I had no idea. I woke up that morning, and that was not part of the plan. And as it turns out, most people where they find it during the autopsy, not during the MRI. So, people would say you're lucky. I said, man, I'm blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I've been given another day, and I didn't have to, because what it said, the statistics say I shouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
And so, you have to. You're right. That's it. And let me tell you what happened. Since we're going to open up all that to what you're talking about was, man, right after I remember the first day I got out of the hospital. I was like, the grass was greener, the sky was bluer, the air was clear, and it was like that. Everybody, oh, you're so lucky. No, I'm blessed, man. I had this, and I slowly forgot. I slowly but surely kind of backed off, and it was like, blew it off, did whatever, to where that zeal I had for life and taking the chances or not taking the chances or whatever it was that just felt like it just made me tingle. It went away because there again, it was an emotion of that happiness, because my joy really comes in the fact of I have a wife and a kids who I love and a place where I'm at that I enjoy. And I think it's okay to be comfortable in your joy. You don't have to chase the electricity all the time. Sometimes it's just chase the fact that hey, man, today I woke up and it's just another good day. And the kids are probably going to come home and do something to completely tick me off.
Yeah.
And I hope at the end of the day, I stop and go, man, but I sure am glad they came home.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Just you can sit at home at night, maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night, and think about all the things you took for granted that day. And it could be a laundry list of stuff, because the smallest thing could be the greatest thing that you missed out on because you weren't actually looking for it. You know what I
Right.
mean? You were focusing on the negative. So you may have missed some cool, just some flower or like the green grass or something. But man, if you could just get out and just go, all right, today was a pretty good day. You know what I mean? I made it through another. Actually, you shouldn't even say you made it through another day, because that's like,
It's a drudgery.
it's
and
like
not.
a drudgery. It's not. You should be grateful for that day. And I'll be the first person to say I've taken many days for granted, to where you're like, no, I'll just start it tomorrow. But I'm going to sit here and watch this Netflix movie tonight and not work on something that could prolong and help whatever dream I'm going for, or whatever goal I have. But you just sit back and you just take for granted that day, and you said, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be a little bit perturbed that I got to wake up early, and that's that.
Well, I would say this, probably in closing as we get a little long in the tooth in this, but I think to go back to what is my definition my definition
Yes.
is not even find, work towards being happy, work towards being joyful with what you have, where you have it. And I believe America is the greatest country to give you that opportunity still, regardless of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other place I can think of where I would find the joy that I can feel than here.
That's a good point, because there's a lot of things going on in our own country that can really make you question if we are the best that people think we are, right? Mine is not, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Maybe it's just, I'm just adding on to all the other smart people that I listen to and read. But just take it as a gratitude, man. Just be grateful for that day. Be grateful for that minute, and be just thankful for the moment that you are now, right? When I worry about things like money or situations or making that hard phone call to a client or what have you, think back to all the hard times you had in your life and how you made through them, and you're going to make it through this, and you'll just keep on chugging through. You know what I mean? So thanks for joining us this week on the Random Real Estate Show. We could probably talk about this for hours on end, but just go out and create your own American dream. There's no right or wrong answer on that. So make sure to visit our website, houstonshomeconnection.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, YouTube, or via RSS. Or you can hit the real easy podcast tab at the top of the website, so you never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate rating on iTunes, or you simply tell a friend about the show. That'd help us too. If you'd like to speak with us about any real estate items, feel free to contact us at justask@houstonshomeconnection.com. As always, go out and laugh today.
See ya.